In what appears to be a bit of a snub to House Leader Nancy Pelosi, Democratic Senator Jon Ossoff is introducing a new bill that will ban members of Congress and their staff and their spouses from trading stock. Now, this is something that should already be in place, but amazingly, it's actually legal, even though members of Congress clearly have inside knowledge that others don't. And there's proof of that because of those that follow the markets, follow members of Congress to see what to do. And I'll get to more on that in a second. But first, hear from the New York Post. Georgia Senator Jon Ossoff is looking to introduce a bill that would ban members of Congress from trading individual stocks, a practice that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has defended as her husband rakes in millions of dollars trading shares of tech companies, the Post has learned. The Ossoff ethics bill, which the Democratic freshman senator plans to introduce once he finds a Republican co-sponsor, could crack down on conflicts of interest by making it illegal for lawmakers and their families to trade stocks while in office, a Washington, D.C. source close to the situation said. It would also likely require lawmakers put their assets in blind trusts, a step that the 34-year-old Ossoff completed himself months after being elected in January 2021. All right, so something worth noting here. Ossoff is looking for a Republican co-sponsor, a Republican senator co-sponsor. It's not going to happen. If he's going to wait for that, then this bill is never going to be introduced. I mean, maybe he'll get lucky and find somebody. If he's trying to get a Republican in the House, there's more of a chance of that happening, as a couple have come out against what Pelosi said, and I'll get to her comments in a minute. But this clearly is a fantastic step in the right direction and something that should already be law, but clearly in opposition to what House Leader Nancy Pelosi said recently. Now, a little more on what is currently allowed. So news of Ossoff's potential bill comes as Pelosi and other politicians from both parties catch flack for making millions trading stocks despite potentially being privy to insider information that can move markets. Current rules allow members of Congress and their families to trade stocks as long as they disclose the moves within 45 days, though dozens of lawmakers have failed to file the reports on time. So even under the very lax current rules, they are still not following the law. And this led to a big story in Business Insider here. At least 182 high-ranking congressional staffers have violated a federal conflict of interest law with overdue disclosure of their personal stock trades, which led to a question to Nancy Pelosi that I covered in this video. Nancy Pelosi defends the indefensible. I'll link to that above and below the video on YouTube. But I go deeper into her comments there and everything around it. But she defends the fact that lawmakers and their staff and their spouses are allowed to trade stock while being privy to information that nobody else has. And to show you how ridiculous this is, you even have TikTokers trading stocks by copying what members of Congress do. So there's a whole community around following what members of Congress are doing and following them, and to great success. So a couple of comments here. Among a certain community of individual investors on TikTok, Nancy Pelosi stock trading disclosures are a treasure trove. Quote, shouts out to Nancy Pelosi, the stock market's biggest whale, said user CEO Watchlist. Another said have come to the conclusion that Nancy Pelosi is a psychic, while adding that she is the queen of investing. Quote, she knew, declared Chris Josephs, analyzing a particular trade in Pelosi's financial disclosures, and you would have known if you had followed her portfolio. And just to be clear here, Pelosi's investor husband is the one that controls all of that. So, which is why it's important to ban their spouses and not just members of Congress. But that also goes to a previous bill that does a little bit of what Ossoff's bill does, but doesn't go as far. So another proposal to curb Congress trades, the Ban Conflicted Trading Act, was introduced in the Senate in March by 4 Democratic senators, including Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon and Ossoff's fellow Georgia freshman, Raphael Warnock. It also has accompanying bipartisan House version backed by AOC and Roy, among other Democrats and Republicans. But the Ban Conflicted Trading Act would only ban trades by members of Congress and their senior staff, not spouses or families, so Paul Pelosi's stock picking would remain legal. So Ossoff's bill goes further and essentially, in a roundabout way, goes after Nancy Pelosi's famous investor husband. This is something that I think should be an obvious to pass, but you're not going to get the support either. Definitely not with Republican senators, but Democratic senators a few will jump on board, obviously. Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, a handful of others. But, I mean, they all were largely silent after Pelosi came out with their comments. Part of that, of course, is because they're Democrats. They're not going to come out against their own in most cases. But this is a glaring issue that needs to be addressed, and it's good to see Ossoff here with one of the bills addressing this. And just to credit Ossoff, because he's somebody that when he, came out of nowhere a few years ago, running for a different position, he just seemed like your standard, Clinton-style Democrat. Was seemed very pro-corporate, average, run-of-the-mill milquetoast Democrat. But since then, he's actually done some pretty good things, including this as well, the Solar Energy Manufacturing for America Act, which incentivizes manufacturing of solar energy panels. And this actually passed the House. Now, of course, it hasn't passed the Senate because Democrats lack numbers there. But still, this is something that he has, done in obviously helping to deal with the climate crisis. It's good to see that there is, another potentially good senator here in the Democratic Party, which is hard to find. There are not many of them, but it's good to see Ossoff. And Warnock, by the way, also has been fairly solid this entire time. I think part of it as well, especially as it pertains to this new bill, is the fact that Ossoff and Warnock replaced Kelly Loeffler and forgetting his name now, David Perdue, who were accused of insider trading. So having both, Ossoff and Warnock have their own bills banning that kind of work, banning insider trading, shows, where part of that motivation is for sure. But at the same time, even if they're motivated because of that, regardless, it's a great bill. And it's a great initiative that hopefully we will see more support for, but that remains to be seen.